Hello, everyone.
You have to do the hashtags like you said. You know where to do that? It's on your dashboard, I think.
Mom, he's live.
But he can still do that. Just say, let me do that real quick or whatever.
Grivix here is bugging me to add some hashtags
Hello,
to
everyone.
You have to do
it. He's
the hashtags.
hashtag crazy.
You know where to do that? It's on your dashboard.
Mom, he's live.
But he can still do that. Just say, let me do that real quick.
Grivix here is bugging me to add some hashtags
Hello,
to
everyone.
it. Alright. He's hashtag crazy.
Mom, he's live.
Grivix here is bugging me to add some hashtags
Hello,
to
everyone.
it. Alright. He's hashtag crazy. There you go, Grivix.
Did you put creative in there too? Instead of game, you put, it says not playing, but change that to creative.
Alright, so today what I'm going to do is cover the creation of ice herd animals, as well as refining some of the AI that I did last time. Someone who watched the recording of the last stream on YouTube
so
commented
today,
that they had an issue
is
with
cover
the creation of ice herd animals with as well as
creature,
refining some
the
of the AI that I did last
predator
time. Someone
continuing to attack the dead creature
instead of going off and doing something else.
had an issue with
So I'm going to quickly fix that and show you how to fix that kind of an issue that might pop up with as well as
creature,
refining some
the
of the AI that I did last
predator
time. Someone
continuing to attack the dead creature.
Things not showing up yet.
I think Ryan's favorite actress should be Kristen Stewart.
Alright, so let's switch over to Unity. Alright. So let's go ahead and I reordered the hierarchy. One good thing to get in the habit of doing, especially now that ICE has made some modifications to the ICE creature control so it doesn't throw quite a big of a fit, is to create a references empty game object that is disabled and stick it under the creature register and put all of your ICE creatures in there so that you can just quickly grab one, modify it, and then apply it to any of the prefabs that it might be connected to. That way you don't have to enable and disable it, re-enable it, and whatnot before hitting apply. Alright, so we have the dinosaur here. And what we want to do is in its hunt and attack behaviors, like we did last time with the rhino by limiting its escape behavior based on its stamina, we can limit the hunt and attack behavior based on whether the target is dead or alive. So if we click this advanced selector settings here, let me extend this out a little bit. And we can select from this long menu, we need to find the creature. Best just to hit C so that you can get straight down to the list of creature attributes. And we need to find creature is dead right here. And we want this to be true. No, false. If the creature is dead, then it can select the hunt behavior when it finds a rhino. Right? So that's easy. And then you do the exact same thing with the attack. You hit the advanced tab and find the creature. Creature is dead. Right here. Is false. So if the creature is false, then the dinosaur will attack it. If it's not, then it will run away. So let us make sure that it is all set up. Let me disable a few things here. Okay, good. So we'll create a rhino. Only want one. Tell you guys about this setting in a second here, which we're going to need. You know, I'm gonna just drag out these guys here instead. There we go. That'll work. And disable that. All right. So let's see. So now once the rhino dies, the dinosaur should move off. Except that did not seem to save from the last time around. Alright. Well, I will. Get in here. Set that. Save it this time. Because apparently I didn't save it since the last stream. What if it's a zombie panda? And you're not playing your dead behavior, but you guys get the idea. The rhino died, the dinosaur moved off because the rhino was dead. Although the rhino didn't seem to want to actually fall over and play dead. Alright, so now let's get to the quick hop into the creation of herds. I've gone ahead and actually set up a... Let me stick these back under references first, so they're not in the way. I have set up... Okay, come on. Oh, that's scene view. A little sheep here from Protofactor. And this will be our herding animal. So to set up a herd, what you first have to do is go into, and I've set them up just kind of similar to the other creatures. You have to set up its home and whatnot. But in behaviors, I have set up a couple of different rules here. I have follow leisure, follow idle, follow walk, and follow run. These are going to be important for determining which sheep is going to end up being the leader in the flock. And these are pretty much just the same as the normal run, walk, and idle behaviors that we set up with the other two creatures. Leisure is a little bit different because you'll see that unlike all the other behaviors, it has 3 rules. Now what this means is that at any given time, the leisure behavior will pick one of these 3 rules based on this setting here. Right now it's set to cyclic, which means it'll go pick the first rule, then once that rule is done, it'll pick the next rule the next time this behavior runs. And ping pong just makes sure that it goes back once it reaches the end of the list. But right now I actually want that set to random, not cyclic, because I want it to randomly pick which behavior to run. Now, in addition to that, they each have these little links here. Now what this means is that once this, for example, leisure rule 1 plays, it will redirect to the idle animation or the idle behavior. And the same thing with leisure rule 2, it'll feed back into the walk behavior, and leisure rule 3 will feed back into the eat behavior, which is just eating animation. Basically just a different idle. Now, the next thing to do in order to set up a herd creature is you need to go into the missions and make sure you have the escort mission enabled. The escort mission basically allows a ice creature to follow a specific target around. And in this case, I have the selected target to be ice sheep. Alright, so here we have all these different conditions here. Okay, and this is why I had to set up different behaviors, because this is the best way that I've found through experimenting with ice to get the creatures to nicely follow a leader creature dynamically without having to make a completely new creature and labeling it as leader creature or something like that. Here we just have it checked to see if any of its target's behaviors are basically one of the follow behaviors. And if it is, then it does not pick that creature as its escort. So ideally what will end up happening here is that the sheep will pick another sheep as its target if that sheep is not currently following another sheep. And of course we have the creature is dead here checked because we don't want the sheep to follow a dead sheep. That does not seem natural. Unless of course it's going to eat the dead sheep, in which case that's a whole different problem. Cannibalistic sheep. And then here you have to define behaviors for the following. The follow behavior, which is basically the behavior that gets executed when the sheep is trying to catch up to its leader. And then its escort behavior gets run when the sheep is just kind of following along the behavior, the lead, following along with the leader. And that's all determined by the random positioning range right here. So if the sheep is within 10 measurements of the leader, it will start escorting. Otherwise, if it's further than 10, it'll start using the follow. Standby happens when the leader stops moving. If the leader stops moving, then this sheep will start executing the follow idle. If the leader stays still and doesn't move around for 10 seconds here, it will then move into the idle behavior here, which is follow leisure. And so that's how all of this works. Go away, pop up. Alright, so let me make sure that there's a few body parts here as well. Alright, so yeah, that should work. So I'm going to pop this sheep back into the references so doesn't cause any problems. And now, if we go into the creature register, in order to get these herds to work, you have to go, this is something new, we have to click on the creature register that I didn't talk about last time around. And we have to find our reference sheep object in here. So that would be, where are you? Right here that I've deactivated here. So what we want to do is, if it'll probably be enabled for you, but I disabled it for testing purposes. But make sure it's enabled, and then you want this pool toggle to be lit up. This will pool a bunch of sheep so that you can use them for spawning multiple sheep. I've gone and selected 6 sheep, which is the max right here. Now, if you do not have this initial button pressed in, then it will gradually spawn your creature, the creature that you have in over time, over the course of the spawn interval. But if you have initial ticked, then you will get all the max objects in once the game starts, which is what we want. We don't want them slowly spawning in. We want to see them all at once and watch them herd. So we'll leave it at 6, see if that's enough to kind of get an idea. So let me save here. Now, it's worth mentioning here that even though I have the creatures technically disabled in the references, it will still spawn it'll make sure that when you spawn a sheep, the ice creature register will make sure that the sheep is enabled after it's spawned. Alright, so let us press play and see if they behave like they ought to. And they're way over there, huh? Yeah. So these two look, this one must be the leader of this lonely, isolated group. And this guy way up here is the leader of these three. And we can head into the scene view. See all these nice little gizmos here. And let's try to find that leader sheep here and make sure that that is doing exactly what we think he's doing. Now what's cool is that you can real time click on this info button and see all of this information here about this individual sheep. For example, its active target here is an ice sheep. Although which ice sheep, I don't know. Now there they go. Now they're all moving together. And then this sheep here, come on, grab you. His info. Here's the leader. Because his active target is home ice sheep, which is the home designation for all of the sheep. So all of these sheep are now following him. And this one's probably following him now as well. Come here, grab you. Yep. So all of the sheep are now following this one sheep right here. And if we used more sheep, then we could. Now, you will have noticed that they weren't necessarily, they were kind of spread out a little bit. So if we wanted to, what we could do is actually tighten up the radius by going into the missions tab here and finding the target move specification and shortening the random positioning range. So if we shorten that to 5, for example, and save that off. Got to make sure I hit apply because it's attached to a prefab. And then press play. They should kind of cluster a little bit more. If they're not all just wandering off. Huh. Don't know what's up with those ones. We'll have to check on them in a second. I have a feeling I know what it is, though. I think they might be selecting themselves. Welcome to the stream, guys. So they still over there dancing? Yeah. So let's see exactly what they're trying to do over here. Grab him. Huh. That was weird. Well, hopefully Pitt will notice this and look into that issue. Don't know what was happening there, but they were freaking out until I clicked on them. Now they're fixed. Although I will put in a check to make sure that they're not trying to select themselves. Now them walking through each other is easy enough to fix. And that becomes more noticeable the more sheep there are more creatures there are present in a herd. But there's several ways you can do that. You can, first off, use a different method of navigation. Ice is compatible with a number of different ways of pathfinding. But of course, the one that comes by default is Unity's pathfinding system. And if you use that, then they won't be running through one another. However, that does have its own little issues. I have found that if you use Unity's nav mesh, then they sometimes will get stuck or hung up on the nav mesh if there's a lot of agents nearby or too many agents nearby. Then they just kind of stick in one spot. But yeah, see, now they're a little bit tighter formation there. And those two are off all by their lonesomes. All right, so that was, and you can use this kind of use it this way for any. You don't have to use it just for sheep. You can use this kind of a thing to kind of create packs. For example, I have an ice wolf here that I created also using the wolf from Protofactor. Although I haven't yet set up herding on him, so we can go ahead and do that. Use this wolf to create a pack of wolves that will go off and hunt the sheep, hopefully. So what you can do is, like before, we have to go into the missions for setting up. So if we want to set up the wolf to turn them into a pack of wolves, we have to go into the missions tab here. And make sure that the escort mission is enabled. And we want to select the target. So the target we want is, of course, going to be named Ice Wolf. However, like with the sheep, we want to make sure they're not selecting a wolf that is following another wolf. We want only one alpha wolf. So what we can do, instead of just go, because with the wolf here, I have not actually set up any animations for following. So what I can do instead is I can go into the ice sheep here, instead of trying to make those all by hand. Go into the ice sheep, find the behaviors that I want right here to follow, leisure, and whatnot, although we probably will not use leisure necessarily. But what we can do is we can save these behaviors off. So I will save this follow, this walk. I don't want it called ice sheep. It's just going to be simple like this. And save, follow, run. Save those off. Very good. So now what I can do is I can then go to the ice wolf and add them in. So I want follow idle. Just add that in quickly there, and then click on load, and then I can grab follow idle. So now it has all the options of it, except I don't want that. I want idle normal here. Yeah, that looks good. And then we want follow walk, and then load in the walk. Make sure it is correct. Wolves are a little bit faster than sheep, so we'll do that. And then we want follow run. And we gotta load it. Gotta make sure we load that. Alright, it's got those set up, although it's gonna be a little bit faster on the forwards. Alright, that looks good. Alright, so now that we have all those set up, we can go into the missions. Now, all these settings can also be fixed as well. So we can go into the Ice Sheep missions tab and actually save off its escort mission. And I will just call this herd escort. And then go back into the Ice Wolf and load that escort mission. So see, now it's got all of the conditional statements in here as well. So I don't have to redo all of those. However, the idle follow, you notice, is in yellow because we did not actually set in the follow leisure. So we do have the option to add it, but in this case, we don't actually want that. Instead, I'm just going to use the idle animation. Yep, idle. Or rather, follow idle. Because that's what it's going to be used to check for a valid pack leader. Alright, that looks good. So see, once you have one behavior set up, or mission in this case, or really anything in ICE, you can actually save that, especially if you're going to be using it a lot, you can save it out and then load it into different creatures so that you're not constantly having to retoggle in all of these options here, which makes the whole thing loads smoother. Check the chat right quick. No, the double noises I think was on my end, mainly because the recording software I was using, the streaming software, I accidentally had the desktop noises on, and I had the Twitch open at the same time, so it was probably giving you feedback from that. I think I've tried putting just collisions on them before, Grivix, colliders on them before, and I think they still went right through each other. But I could certainly try it again and see if maybe it was improved or something like that. But generally, giving them pathfinding and making them avoid one another is a lot easier. Alright, so we have the wolf setup. Although, good thing we didn't start it. What we want the target object to be is a wolf, not a sheep. And to avoid that weird behavior, let's go ahead and add in a and statement and make sure that the creature object or target object, target game object, is not own object. This will prevent him from targeting himself with the escort, which I think those other unfortunate sheep were running into. Alright, so let us press, move him back into references right now so that he doesn't confuse all the other wolves. And let me turn on the wolf in the register. I've already got him pooled, and we want 6 of them, just like the sheep. So save that off, make sure it's initialized. Yep, and these right here are the spawn options. And you can have multiple spawn areas. So if you want the creature to spawn in multiple locations, you can do that by clicking this add button, and then you'll have this secondary spawn, which you can set here. But we're not going to do that for now, because we only want them to spawn at their cave. Their nice big blocky cave. That is very shallow. Alright, so let us press play. Alright, there they are. And this guy seems to be a loner. Walking in tandem. Yeah, there we go. Loner joined in the rest of the pack. What? I think that one just died.
How's your old age on there?
I'll have to check to make sure his weapon mouth is not accidentally hurting himself. And that one decided to turn into a ghost. But yeah, pathfinding definitely would help with the going through objects and obstacles like that. Although for the most part, they do pretty well with not ghosting through walls and whatnot. Yeah, definitely have to check up on the weapon stuff here, because it looks like they're hurting each other, which is not what we want. But they do respawn, which is another nice feature of the pooling system. If you have them pooled, they will respawn with the set spawn interval in their settings here, which means that every 10 seconds a new wolf will spawn, if there's any available and if the capacity has not been reached. Yeah, it seems like whenever they run into each other, they damage one another, which is great for testing the mask. So let us quickly go up into the layers and add a new layer. And we'll just call this wolf. Not wolf, wolf. Have to learn to spell sometime. And then we'll tag the wolf, or set the wolf to the wolf layer. And then yes, change children. Alright, so now if we go into and find his weapon, although I can easily, I think I can do that quickly by going into essentials, finding the body parts here, selecting head, because the weapon is attached to its head, right here, and make sure to add in the layer mask. So we don't want it to hurt the wolf, I believe, right? To one or more. Alright, so what we want to do is restrict it to the default layer, which the sheep are currently on. This way it'll only damage anything that's on the default layer. Check the chat, since it seems to be pretty active right now. Hey Hamilla. Hey Dylan. How's it going? Good to see you guys on here. Grivix, Scorpy, and Osmono here are members of my team. Alright. Let them chat away in there. Alright, so getting back into here, so I don't think the wolves will kill each other now. However, we do want them to head out and take down the sheep. Hopefully. So what we can do is we can actually give them in their missions. This is a great use of the... Now, notice here with the escort mission, I have set its priority to 50. This means anything, any behavior or interactor or other mission that has a lower priority than the escort mission will be ignored if the escort target is a valid target. So let us make sure that the interactions for him are likewise set. Yes. Okay. So if this wolf is following someone, is following another wolf, and it sees a sheep, it will prefer going after the sheep than following its pack mates. So here is how I have the sheep interaction set up for the wolf. I have the hunt, which will just allow the wolf to move in on the sheep. And the sheep has to be within its field of vision and has to be visible. In other words, the sheep cannot be behind an obstacle or something like that. And then I have this circle behavior here, or interactor. And this uses the circle behavior that I created. If we click on edit, you can see it. It's basically like the walk behavior, except that the move option here is set to orbit. So this basically means that the wolf will actually circle the prey once it's able to circle it here, which is once the wolf is within 10 units of its prey, this circle will kick in, and the wolf will actually start circling the prey and move in by 1 unit as it circles the prey. So therefore, this hopefully will confuse the sheep, which are set up to run away from the wolf. And if the wolves manage to encircle the sheep, then well, sheep's probably going to end up dead because it won't know which direction to run. At least that's the theory anyway. All right, and then of course we have the attack behaviors here. I have actually two set up. One is a static attack. So here the static attack checks to see if the creature is dead. If it's not, then it then checks to see if the creature is escaping. If it's not escaping, it then checks to see if the creature is running. If it's not running, then it attacks with a standing attack. Otherwise, with the run attack, if the creature, it first checks to see if the creature is dead, and if the creature is escaping, then it will do a run attack. So therefore, if it should be, the wolves should be able to attack a fleeing target. All right, but now we want to be able to get the wolves to move over to where the sheep are. So what we can do is go into missions, minimize the escort because we're done with that, and enable the outpost mission. All right, so if we enable it and extend it, we'll have all these nice things here. We want to extend the target. Now we want the target object here to be the ice sheep home, which is ideally where the sheep are going to be hanging out. So then they'll move in there, and the priority should be lower than the priority for the herding. This way, only one wolf will actually go to the outpost. The others are likely to follow it. All right, and then the travel, we want to be... Travel is when it's going over there. So what we'll do is we'll do a walk here. Nice leisurely walk. Once it reaches the point where it's trying to get to, we're just going to idle. And then once it reaches the outpost, all right, come on. Oh, boy. We want target move specification here, which is why that's not enabled down there. Is we want the random range to be around 50 here. So that way it'll pick a point 50 units around the ice home sheep object. And we want this to happen every 5 seconds or change every 5 seconds so long as the target is active. All right, so now we have this leisure behavior down here enabled, which will only be enabled if these options are set, if the random positioning range is higher than 0. So here what we want to do is we'll just pick walk, because we want them to kind of wander around in the outpost looking for sheep to eat. All right, hit apply on him. Save the scene right quick, and let's go ahead and see if this works. Yeah, there they go. They're heading over towards the sheep. Oh, don't you head towards me. That was a little intimidating. Oh. A sheep has been found. Sorry about that. Dog is just barking at his reflection, or someone's reflection. But they're kind of acting weird on this sheep, and that sheep has no clue. So let's see what's wrong. Let's grab the wolf here, go into interactions. I did believe I had a... Maybe not. To make sure there's nothing wrong with the movement. Try reducing that a little bit here. No, it doesn't go that far. Negative 0.1. No, you do not like that, do you? No, it does not like that. Alright, so we'll stick with 0.1. Alright, so let's see why the wolves are behaving so erratically. Maybe they're very hesitant to attack the sheep. Well, if the orbit radius isn't big enough, then they won't actually, they'll just hop straight to the attacking instead of orbiting. So we want to give them, because wolves will kind of circle prey before they actually go into attack, and that's what that's kind of mimicking. I could shorten it a little bit, just to see if that's the issue though. Make sure to save that off. Let's see here. Well, let me try something here. Okay, so yeah, it's still just checking for visibility here. Alright, that's not that big of an issue. So let's press play and see. Two missing, where they at? Oh, there they are. They both decided this wolf was better. Don't ask me why. That is so weird. Let me actually grab one of the wolves, because one of the great thing about ice is that you can alright, gizmos, go away. One issue with the gizmos is that they do cause quite a lot of lag if you have all of them open at once like this. So let me, oh, looks like they actually killed a sheep here. Which is why it's disabled. But let us grab the wolves and actually turn off their debugging for now. They are doing a number on the sheep there. If you watch them in the hierarchy here, you'll see that some of them are grayed out. It's because the wolves are actually killing them. Despite their weird behavior there. Like a school of wolves instead of a pack of wolves. Alright, so let's grab one of them here. Sheep have force fields. Don't you know that? It's the wolves hitting the force fields of the sheep. So what we can do is live edit the behavior of the options of this behavior and see how it affects the wolf that's selected. So let's maybe increase the radius quite a bit of that behavior. Doesn't seem to do anything there, does it? Yeah, sheep are spawning back in. That could be an issue. They might be confused, so let's make sure that their priorities are set correctly. So let's see, their escort mission has a priority of 50, and their outpost, no, not outpost, my bad, their attack behaviors. Hunt has 51, and everything just goes above there. So no, that's not the issue. They should be selecting the hunt behaviors above the packing behaviors. Find them again. Where'd they go? Whoa. Okay. Well, they don't know where the sheep are now. They killed them all. Well, that's a problem. Guys, go get them. We need some experimentation here. Go get the sheep here. Go get them. No? We'll find them. No wolves were harmed in the making of these experiments. Yeah, there's still two missing. Oh, they're always up ahead, aren't they? Alright, come on, you guys. Go get them. Oh, the gizmos. Get rid of those for now. Alright, go get them. Circle. That kind of works. They did a number on those two. Guys are circling the wrong way. Alright, which one are you? Grab him. And they're twitching with their attack animations, which is easy enough. We just have to make sure that they stick with that attack animation for a certain period of time. Okay, guys, there is a sheep right behind you. Maybe they're full. Oh. No, they found this guy over here. Alright, come on. Alright, I think here, hang on. I'm just going to use one sheep for now. I mean, one wolf. It's easier to debug that way. So we'll grab you guys and disable the pool. Drag that wolf out and press play to watch him go. Where'd he go? There he is. Disable the things for the sheep. Should disable that anyway. Yeah, that's a little better. So now we just have the gizmos for the wolf. There's a sheep over here, wolf. There you go. Go right for him. And we'll turn on his... where'd they go? Where's the info? There it is. Turn off the debug for now. Alright. No, it shouldn't happen if it's a pack problem, but it is. And now he's completely ignoring the sheep. Alright, so let us see. Selection range of 10. Where are you going? Okay, so now you're circling. And now you're ignoring. Get back over there. Turn around. Alright, good.
Dante, stop it. Krenza, take care of him. Keep him from barking. Are you still doing your thing? Keep him from barking.
No, turn around. Get back over there. Actually going to increase the selection range on this a little bit so that he will hopefully stay with them. Alright. True. Good point. Farrell, you actually brought up a point that's probably actually might be causing it. Part of the problem is probably that he's trying to pick a different sheep each time, so he alters his movements based on that, which might be causing this kind of a confused behavior when especially when there's multiple sheep around. So let's try adding a. Oh, where'd that go? No, turn you on. Adding this in here and creature. Target object. Come on, where are you? Target object. Target game object. Pause you for now. I said pause. Is not equal to, let us see if there is. Yeah, it would be handy. And actually, we could experiment with that right quick here. Delete this one, because there is a way to lock it. I believe it is retention here. Retaining, and we want them to retain this for at least 10 seconds for now. Where you at? Oh, well, get back over there. There's still more sheep for you to kill. Come on. Go get them. No, we don't want the delay timer. Get back over there. Come on, man. Focus. Except then he kind of ignores the is dead tag. Is dead check for that. So let's not do that. So there's, I think, one condition here that should probably work. If target is not last target. See if that helps. Oh wait, no, that was probably actually the reverse of what I wanted. You know, one thing I will do here is just disable it. I'll experiment that with that later, but right now I just want them to kind of behave the way the way they should be. There, okay, so see, now he behaved a little better. Me trying to be fancy and adding in things that I'm not entirely sure how they work yet, apparently. Best thing for me right now is just to kind of disable that behavior, which is handy because you can just disable it like that, and then play around with it later. But now I want to hit apply. Turn on the references. No, all right, come on. Now we want to turn back on the pooling, and maybe give us a little bit more sheep. How about 10 sheep here? A little bit bigger flock. Yeah, the circling was definitely the cause of the issue. I knew that from the beginning. I just wasn't sure how to kind of limit that. Those two are always up in front, aren't they? That sheep is going to die shortly. No, okay. A nice big flock of sheep over here. They all found a leader. And wolves. Come back over here. You have some more prey. There you go. No more lone wolves out here. It should, Osmono, it should be doing that normally, which is why I was a little confused as to why they were hanging behind the sheep like that. Because even when there was only a single sheep, they seemed to do that. So I'm not entirely sure it was just a targeting issue. Which is why I said I'll have to play with it a little more to see how to fix that. Maybe Pitt can give me some pointers after seeing this. That's what the retaining time is for. But the problem with that then is that because of the way ICE is set up, this new version of ICE is set up, using it that way will, if the sheep, for example, dies, gets killed by another wolf, it will still circle it if there's still time on the retaining timer, even though the sheep is dead, and it will ignore the is dead check first. So it kind of causes some not wanted behavior if it's set for too long. Let's check the behavior of the circling and see if orbit. Well, you know, that probably would help too, is quadruped. Well, its default should be quadruped anyway. Now, demo scene here that has orbit behaviors in it. I'll have to look into that and see if it still works like it should and whatnot. See if I can't put the wolves in there, do the same thing. Figure out why it might not be working. But then in that tutorial, they only have one target to worry about, not like multiple sheep that might be causing them to circle. But now, last and not least, we need to make sure that they set up the escaping for the sheep. And we have it on the rhino here. And like we did before, we can go into its interaction for escaping. Oh, crap. Well, you know, because this did not save since the last stream, that all got wiped out. Alright, anyway, let's just set it up from scratch in case some new people are here. Alright, so let's go ahead and add in just a single escape behavior. And we want it to interact with the wolf. Priority obviously is going to be higher than anything else it has. So what's its flocking behavior's priority? 50. Alright, so we want it higher than 50. So we'll go with 51. And so long as the wolf, the sheep could see the wolf, we're going to ignore field of vision for now. Then it will keep trying to run. So we want the range, the selection range, to be fairly short. So let's say about 8. So if there's a wolf within 8 units of the sheep, it will try to escape. And we want it to use the escape behavior. And we can edit it right here because we will normally need to edit it. Knowledge is power, Farrell. Alright, so here we have the escape behavior. And here I've set the variance for the forward speed to be to negative 0.5 to 0.3 so that some sheep might be faster or slower when they're trying to escape, which will allow wolves, give a little bit of the wolves a challenge at some points. And maybe some sheep will be really easy to catch because they're really slow. And some influences that I gave the sheep is here so that while it's escaping, its stress will go up by 0.5 every second. And its anxiety and noisiness will go up as well per second. So the anxiety will go up by 0.5 per second and its noisiness will go up by 1 per second because it's going to start panicking the longer the chase wears on. And this will have in this escape interactor, what we want to do is just like with the rhino, we want to set it so that the sheep might get tired out. So if its own stamina is, we want the stamina to be greater here. So we want the stamina to be greater than, let's say, 50%. If the sheep's stamina is greater than 50%, it can escape. But once it falls below 50%, then the sheep is too tired to run, which will spell its own death. And you can do something similar to that with the wolves too, so that maybe they get tired, so that maybe the sheep might be able to escape because the wolf is more worn out and can't catch up to the sheep, and so the sheep will run away. All right, so we have that. Then make sure that the move is set to escape. Escape distance is 20, so it'll try to get 20 units away, and then after that it won't try to escape anymore. But if the wolf gets any closer, then it might kick back in. And random escape angle of 4. All right, so we'll save that off. Apply it to the sheep prefab. And then let's see if they scatter when they see a wolf. Go get them, guys. And we don't have two of them in front now. It's also worth mentioning that you can actually set them up to escort the player. So I could potentially have the sheep follow me around, and kind of guide them towards or away from the wolves, just like a shepherd would. Oh, that poor sheep. Whoa. Oh my gosh. Not sure what's happening there, but that sheep just took out 4 wolves. I'm very confused. It's like they're disappearing when they hit him, not necessarily killing him. Yeah, seriously. Come on, guys. What are you guys doing? And stop teleporting. What the heck, man? I think that's exactly what they're doing. I will have to look into that. That is so weird. Yeah, Super Sheep is right. Sheep with the power of teleportation. Sadly, that's not enough to defend him against the wolves. That is one fast sheep. That is a smart tactic. Maybe they're trying to teleport and head the sheep off. Now that's exactly what that wolf did. Except for the teleporting, that all seems to work pretty nicely together. I'll have to look into the teleporting. And once I figure it out, I'll post it up on the forums. But for now, that's this has been herding with ice, herding in packs, and apparently teleportation. Be funny to have that happen to a player. Player goes up to try to attack the sheep, and then gets teleported. Eh. Let me see if I can post a link to the forums in the chat. There we go. And that would be the link to the ice thread. on the Unity forums. That's also where I will be announcing any further to at least give several hours advance notice when I put my streams up. Preferably, yes. The Ice Peck forum link. But yeah, using this kind of system setup, you could potentially create all sorts of herd or pack type behaviors, such as a bunch of soldiers following a bannerman. And then you can set it up so that the bannerman will go out and attack anyone that gets close that's an enemy. And then obviously return to the bannerman once no other present dangers are around. So anyone have any further questions? Or maybe some suggestions for kind of AI behavior that they'd like to see in the future? Oh yes, ice, despite all of these little finicky things that you've seen here, is really useful. It's immensely flexible, and if you know a little bit of programming, it can become a lot more useful. As then you can kind of utilize it to its greatest potential. But this I managed to do all of this without even writing a single line of code. Besides the butterflies, yes, yes, Grivix, I am currently looking into creating the butterflies for you. Although right now I'm having a little bit of trouble setting it up the way I want to, so I kind of contacted Pitt to get some advice from him as well. Might keep these teleporting sheep around though. Yeah, it can be. The interface is kind of daunting when you first look at it, but once you get used to how things work and what they do, then it becomes a lot more manageable. That's probably one of the things that keeps most people from buying it, is the sheer amount of options that are presented to someone. But hey, that's what these videos are for, and that's what the Pitt's tutorials on ICE are for as well, to help new people out in navigating through everything and picking out what's needed and what's not. Yeah. Some people believe more complexity equals better enjoyment, better use. In some cases, if done properly, it can be, but it can also be kind of daunting for newer people to get into. Yes, Grivix definitely is a lot easier than trying to code your own AI. I think you mean RTP, maybe? I don't know, something like that. Oh well, that's what's great about ICE, is that it does all the pathfinding for you. And you can use any of the most of the pathfinding systems available, including Unity's, as well as A# pathfinding, its own internal pathfinding, and a few others, I think. Yeah, that's one good thing about the ice, especially with this update, is that you can definitely make underwater AI. Um, I haven't had much experience in trying to use it with underwater AI like fish and whatnot, um, but I'm bound to have to look into that eventually. Probably while I'm fiddling around with the bird AI and whatnot, since they'll both kind of have similar settings.
Yeah, it's a bunch of years. Hey, no one is a magic use ever again.
So, yeah, you probably could use it for space AI, but like I said, I haven't had much experience with fiddling around with the flight AI or the fish AI. So yeah, as Farrell said, water, flying, space, all the same thing, same concept. No gravity or very little of it. I mean, I did make successfully make a lightning bug AI with this, which I suppose would probably be pretty much kind of the same concept of some space AIs.
He is good, it's just he has different answers.
Lightning bugs, the little bugs with flashing butts. We have them all over the place here in in Florida. In some places, anyway. They're more abundant in other places.
Well, they pretty much all died off after they sprayed the pesticides for the oranges.
Of course, I could have also meant the firefly. Yeah, you could. You could use they do have a hunger snack. I mean, stat snack. Must be getting hungry. And you can use that to kind of tell whether the wolves are feel like running a whole lot.
Okay, let's see. Oh yeah, that'd be pretty cool. Why do I have a headache? Oh my god. Well, the thing is, I don't think he wants to be by himself.
Yep, you certainly could do that, Osmono or Dylan. Um, they do have aggressivity. In addition to other stats, let's find that here. Aggressivity here, and you can make it so that in certain circumstances that they will attack, maybe increase the attack radius or set a certain attack behavior up so that it's longer radius, and that so if their aggressivity is a certain level, then they'll be more apt to attack from that radius. And you can have that aggressivity affected by if they have a pup or not. You can either do that through script or even through ICE itself without even touching a single line of code. It'd be probably the same with bears as well. Be more aggressive if they have pups or cubs. Bears don't have pups. Not unless it's like a bear wolf hybrid. Oh, they can. I've actually, in the previous version of ICE, they actually had, Pitt had set up, let me find it here, the dynamic vital signs. So here, health is affected by damage directly, so that each point of damage also reduces health, right? But you can also see here you have settings for stress. So you literally could have an animal die of stress. And in the previous version, that was the default. A animal could die of stress. So I would be increasing the stress of an animal, not realizing that, and I'd be wondering why a animal kept falling over dying while it was trying to run away. Or why a dead animal would suddenly come back to life because its stress went down to the point that its health went above 0, so it got back up and started walking around like a zombie. Oh yeah, you could set up anything to run something else into the ground, except for probably a player, but that's what you control outside. That's where you would need scripts to come and play. Depends. Depends on if the game is going for realism or not. Starving pack of wolves might run you down if they were hungry enough. Sheep are still teleporting them around. And now I am the pack leader. Hey, wait, come back here. Follow me. All right. So since there are no more questions and no one has any suggestions besides Grivix about what they would like to see in the future, I guess I had better get working on figuring out how to do the butterflies. All right. Thank you guys for joining and watching the stream. I will post on the forums when my next stream will be once I figure that out. All right. Thank you guys. And you guys may still sit here and talk on the chat for as long as you want. Hopefully I'll see you all next time during the next stream as well.